Hi everyone, Chris Petri. I decided to make a part 5 on this video series. I thought it would be really interesting to kind of give you another bit of, I guess, insight into how I sometimes think of my paintings and um, some of the issues I might have, and you'll probably come across these same issues as I do. And I figured it would be kind of interesting to just kind of like make an additional video to the series here. So what I found was I went in and I did a couple added details once we left on our last video. So I kind of fixed up some of the doors and windows here on these cottages along the ocean. And I also added in a couple figures. Uh, I made them very small and I put them over here like sort of in the distance behind the cottages, sort of like so. You see that there's some people along the shoreline here having fun on a nice beautiful sunny day and along the shore, but I didn't want to make any large figures anywhere because I felt like if we were to do that, we would do that in the beginning and draw in some really nice figures, maybe somebody walking into the scene. We could make a larger figure. So your figures, as you add them into your paintings, um, you can think about that as you're creating your drawing as to whether you want figures in the painting or not. So usually, if you're putting figures in the distant areas, like the middle ground or usually it'll either be the foreground or the middle ground. Figures really wouldn't be set in the distant parts of the painting really so much. So I did put a couple in to just have a feeling of some people in the picture, which makes it much more interesting. And right now I had a problem with the clouds. I didn't like the way the sky turned out on this painting so much. So instead of just leaving it as it is and then thinking to myself, well, this is really not a really good painting that I could, maybe frame and, um, you know, sell at a fair or a craft fair or maybe at a gallery or something. I figured let's go in. We'll try to fix the sky a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to use just the method of blotting out some of the paint. So the first thing I want to do is put some tape and tape down my paper. So this is important. Tape down your paper when you're going to do any correction work. So this way the paper in your block, I'm using a block here, a watercolor block. If you're just using a regular piece of watercolor paper without a block attached to it. In any case, you want to get it stable on your art table so that it's not moving around because you want to focus your energy on fixing the correction and not really trying to have the paper sliding all around the watercolor painting, moving all around on you. So I just taped it down nice and firmly all four sides. Then what I did is I'm making sure I get some clean water. So I'm going to pour this over here out of sight. I don't want to pour it over the top of the painting. Always be aware, of course, of your painting, not to work over top of it if you can help it. That's always an important thing. And so here we're going to do some corrective work. We're going to correct some of these blotches of white paper on these areas in the sky here. So I have some fresh, clean water. I put that to the side, and then I'm going to look for a brush that is maybe a flat brush or something that I don't use all that often. I don't want to use my good Kolinsky sable brushes for scrubbing or scrubbing out paint or anything. I don't think we're going to have to do a lot of scrubbing here though. I think we can use a paper towel or a rag to actually just fix this a little bit. So to fix these unpleasant white spots of white paper that were left, I'm going to wet the paper with a flat brush with clean water. Some of the white spots are okay behind the trees there, the palm trees, but right here in the foreground or in the forefront of the painting. So I'm wetting these white spots really, really, really well with lots of water with a flat brush. Being very careful not to get anywhere near that green foliage there. I don't want to have that working out into the sky so much. And then over here, I can leave a little bit of the white spots over here. That's not a problem. I think it's more or less over here. All right, so I got those large white spots covered with fresh, clean water, and then I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes and let the water soak into the paper and the paint. And then what we'll try to do is we'll start over here on a very small spot with a white rag here. It's just an old t-shirt. And we'll try to just gently blot and scrub a little bit and see if we can blend that in a little bit. So maybe we can leave it light, but kind of give it a cloudy effect maybe a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's one section right there. That works good. So I would always start on a smaller spot, really. That's not so visible right in the front here. And let's see if we can do this. There, we might have to scrub a little bit with a brush. So I have a good kind of scrubbing brush somewhere, but it might be way far out of reach. Let me see. Okay, let me see if I can see it. Take a look. Okay, I found one of my scrubbing brushes which I use to make corrections with, and it's a nice. It's kind of got a just like a. It's almost like a regular round brush clipped off, like the end of it clipped off. So that's just, or a makeup brush. Makeup brushes look, I think, like that. So it's like a flat, tapered look. And this is a Winsor Newton Regency Gold 535 3/8. So this is, and it's the bristles. This is the bristles are kind of synthetic bristles. So I'm just going to kind of scrub. Now the thing is, we don't want to damage the paper if we can help it. So I can see that we're going to go in and get some paint. So I'm going to use the same colors we used before, except I'm going to go with just a lighter version of the mineral violet, which is purple, a purple color. I'm going to use that and some cobalt blue and maybe a little bit of French ultramarine blue. I'm going to see if I can diffuse some color in there. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's safe to go in there. So I'm just dabbing in the paint into the paper. With some of that French ultramarine blue and mineral violet. And a little bit of burnt umber too. I'm going to try to mix up the same as we did before to mix it up a little bit. And once I do this, then I'm going to go back and blot and see what happens. This is usually, this fixing, I probably need to brush up on some fixing techniques. I haven't really, a lot of times if I don't like the way a section of a painting comes out, I kind of just chalk it up as, that painting goes to the filing drawer. All right. So I think we did okay here. We did a good, and now I'm just kind of giving it some. Okay, I think that looks good. So here, that's just a quick way to kind of do a little fix-up on a watercolor painting where I left too much of the white paper on there and it kind of looked, like unpleasant with just the plain white paper. It didn't really look like clouds so much. So if you have a painting or two or three or so or four, or you might have a lot of paintings around, maybe you put to the side and you said, I don't like it. You can go back in and make corrections to your watercolors. You just have to be very careful. Take your time with it. Do a little section first, see how it comes out. The thing I will say is if you're using top quality paper, you can do correcting and it usually goes halfway decent to fairly well. But if you're using a less expensive paper, maybe, that's going to be a little more difficult to make corrections on. So um, I would say if you have paintings that are on good paper, like finished paintings, you might have tried to do some finished paintings for a gallery show or something, or a fair, craft fair or something like that, or for a gift or something that you're going to give to somebody, and it's on good paper. It didn't come out so great. There's a couple spots. You can fix those spots probably. You can try to, if it's not too bad, by using this technique. And but if it's on very inexpensive watercolor paper, I've tended to notice that it doesn't go well at all. Usually the paper gets like the paper disintegrates very easily, and then you get like very rough looking like marks, and the paper actually breaks apart and looks like it's torn on the top of the paper, the actual watercolor paper itself, the actual finished painting. So in any case, I thought this was just a nice little added touch to our video series here, making a few little corrections, and I think this correction came out pretty good. Definitely improved the look of the sky, and overall I think this is a fun painting to do, to try, and you'll also have a fun time just imagining a beautiful shore scene, and the fun and the enjoyable time being along a nice beautiful seascape. Okay, we'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.